Hey Gareth, pleased to meet you. I'm Shane.
Hi, Shane. Lovely to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem at all, mate. Firstly, congratulations on being in a pretty important musical that's celebrated by many over Christmas.
Thank you so much. It's honestly a bit of a thrill to be part of the Australian premiere.
Were you plucked from obscurity to become Buddy, or is this
I mean,
something
I
of a
would certainly
process?
hope not, given my credits so far. Prior to this, I'm still on the national tour of Greece. Before that, was in Mary Poppins for the full run of 18 months. And
Yeah.
prior to COVID, I was in a little play called Puffs, which was the longest running play in Melbourne since the 70s. But then Cursed Child came along and bumped us off.
Well, that's what Harry does, right?
He does.
So tell me about the innocence of Buddy. Is that hard to maintain? Like, honestly, you're an actor, but keeping the high spirit of Buddy's character up every day, what's it like?
I mean, it comes pretty second nature to me. I like to think I'm a bit of a cockeyed optimist. I generally see the positive side in most situations. I try my best to stay as happy as possible. And so when I do have to go on stage and inhabit Buddy, I just say, great, what am I happy for today? Let's turn that up to about 20 and see what we can do.
How the audience has been so far? I mean, you're at the Opera House, which is pretty iconic in itself.
Absolutely stellar, I have to admit. We've only had two shows so far, but both
Yeah.
of them have just been so warm and joyful. Every so often, I hear just a smattering of kid laughter, the kind that just really tickles the heartstrings. And it makes me so validated and justified doing what I do.
We just mentioned kid laughter. What about focusing when it comes to like movements in the audience, or because it's kids, they're screaming or, kids crying? How do you keep your focus when you're acting?
Well, I mean, for me, it's relatively simple because I do have ADHD. So I have the ability to process information and say,
Okay.
is this relevant to me? Or do I need to focus on something else? And the
Okay.
something else just happens to be a 2 and a bit hour musical in which I do not stop running and yelling.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing I was going to ask you about fitness. You don't need to go to the gym, I'm assuming.
For the most part, no, but I do have my own routine when I'm not on a show. I like to go for a run now and then. But this show is a workout in itself. I've got a little cheeky hydrolyte here before we kick off again, just to
Yeah.
get myself back in tip-top shape, because I have about 2 minutes off stage in Act One, and that's
Mm.
non-sequential, so it's like 20 to 30-second bursts.
Do you have any superstitions? Like you just mentioned routines, but what about superstitions when it comes to any show or before you go on stage?
I don't particularly have a superstition when it comes to theatre, but I respect people who do. So, for example, I will never say the name of the Scottish play, or I will never whistle in a theatre, that sort of thing. Like, I myself am very happy to just come out and say, whatever happens, happens. It's the chaos of the universe. But if someone else has a routine, I will never interfere.
Have you always had musical theatre aspirations growing up? I know you were saying you've just been in a lot of shows, but what about as a little kid? Was it something you were destined to do?
I mean, surprisingly, no. My first memory of what I wanted to do as a kid is when I was 4 years old and wanted to be a train driver. But then I found out the trains didn't talk like on Thomas the Tank Engine, so I immediately put it on the back burner. But
Yeah.
uh, music was always a part of my family. Like I grew up watching John English's Pirates of Penzance, and that
Yeah.
really sparked something in me that has continued to this day. I love a bit of Gilbert and Sullivan. I love a comedy, so I just sort of followed those instincts.
What about musicals in general? When did you see Elf, the musical, like overseas before you were
I
part of
I
it
truly
or
wish
not?
I did. I
Yeah.
truly wish I did because Elf has been running for nearly a decade now, on and off in
Yeah.
both West End and on Broadway. So this is the first time in the world that it's been happening on three major stages simultaneously. I've actually been thinking about reaching out to the US cast and saying, "Hey, any tips for maintaining Buddy?"
Yeah, well, what you should actually, you never know, because they're
Yeah.
are they different? Do you know if there's differences from your show to overseas, or bit for an Australian audience? Does it remain the
Well,
same?
well, script wise, we're looking at pretty much the same product, but this particular production is a rarity in the musical theatre industry here. It's all Australian. The design is brand new, the direction is brand new, the choreography is brand new, the costumes are brand new.
Yeah.
Usually a show will import a lot from the US or the UK. This time it is all us, and that's so rare and wonderful. It's magical Christmas gift to the industry.
Have you ever had a mishap on stage, whether it be this show or another show that you've had to deal with that you don't
I
want to
mean,
deal with again?
more than a few, I would say. I mentioned puffs earlier. There was one particular show where a bunch of bubble fluid had leaked onto the stage, and my
Ooh,
character would run very quickly. One night, I ran across a patch of bubble fluid, ended up completely horizontal, smashed into the set.
that's not good. Did you hurt yourself very bad?
I mean, my hand was black for the better part of 2 weeks, so
Oh.
I recovered, as you can see, both fully functional.
Even though you're established, were you having to audition for Buddy? Were you up against any other people that you had to sort of prove yourself against?
Oh yeah, I was still very much needing to audition and prove myself because this is a huge role, like the
Oh
biggest I've
yeah,
ever taken on. So I started auditioning while I was in Perth with Greece. They had us doing self-tapes. Then I flew to Sydney about 3 weeks later for a second round audition, actually read in that room with Brianna Bishop, who plays Jovie. So it
yeah.
was really just a perfect meeting of the minds there.
Is it a hinder? Does it help or is it a hindrance if you watch the movie? Like, have you done that to sort of see what Will Ferrell has done, or is it completely separate?
I mean, when I was first auditioning, it was all me. And then I went back and rewatched the film a little bit, and it was like, I love what he's doing, but I cannot be him.
Yeah,
I cannot just reproduce what Will Ferrell is doing on this Australian stage without limiting what Gareth has to offer. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think there's enough of an homage to him in there, but there's more than enough Gareth to go around.
Gareth's your real name, not a stage name.
Not a stage name. My father, at 45, after naming two of his other children very English names, said, all right, I guess this one's named Gareth Owen.
Musical aspirations. Have you got any maybe in the future a show that you'd love to be part of, an existing show or
Well, I
something?
know Back to the Future is coming to Australia. I'm
Yeah.
really gunning for that. But the absolute dream role is the Phantom of the Opera. That's where I want to end up.
Any particular role or
I mean, the big man himself. Give me the mask. Let's see what happens.
sure. That's aiming high. I love it.
Eh? Gotta aim high.
Christmas movies in general. Let's say besides Elf, are there any movies that you remember as a kid or enjoy now that are related to Christmas?
I mean, I've said this before. The number one Christmas movie, in my opinion, is The Muppet Christmas Carol. Michael Caine treating it serious as Shakespeare. Jim Henson's like swan song. It was the final film produced after he had a hand in before he passed. It's so brilliant
Mm.
and a
Yeah,
musical
no.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a common answer because it is such a well-loved film. I mean, I
I
agree.
agree.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Of course, it's a Christmas movie.
Good.
Like that is not in debate. Anyone who tries to debate it is clearly wrong, so I won't entertain
Good. I'm really glad to hear that.
it.
What exercises do you do or voice, sort of voice massaging or whatever you want to call it to keep your, career going? I mean, anything could happen. You could
Yeah.
pick something up. Do you have a routine or is there any sort of exercises that you could sort of tell me that you do?
Well, for the most part, just a decent singing warm up gets me through the show, as well as making sure I'm adapting my voice for the space. I use a few techniques I picked up in university to make sure that, hey, I'm not pushing. I just need to hit the back wall at best, at worst, middle of the house, because we have these little things called microphones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now you're having a sip of a drink. Is that part of the routine? Because I know you got a show soon, or is that just a little bit of vodka to get you
Oh,
going?
oh goodness, no. This is,
I'm
as you
only
can see here,
joking, by the
this
way.
is a double strength English breakfast from Twinings. This is my go-to.
Sure, I was only joking about vodka. If you were not acting and dancing and just doing what you're doing, what other career do you think that Gareth would be good at?
Well, I mean, I do have a fully fledged voice coaching business as well. So I teach accent and dialect for auditions, I teach speech and singing. So that would probably be where I am. I love human language and I love the human voice and how we communicate.
Do you think it's necessary for actors, whether it be on stage or film, to have be good at accents, other than their own?
100%. Voice is acting and acting is voice. If you are not delivering a believable accent, then the audience is probably not going to relate to you as much.
And finally, have you ever accidentally stepped outside with the costume still on, forgetting to take it off?
Fortunately, no. I do sometimes walk out with a bit of the stage makeup on, and people are commenting, "Oh, your cheeks are very red." I'm like, "Oh no."
Well, why should people go and see Elf? In your own words, just to wrap it up, you're the lead, your buddy, which is like all eyes are on you. It's been great talking to you, Gareth, but in your own words, tell me why people listening to this or watching this should go and see Elf the musical.
People should come and see Elf because number one, it's that time of year. It is Christmas. You might as well come and share some joy with 2,000 other people in a theater.
Yes.
And second of all, this cast is so brilliant that it would be a crime to not come and see them.
Is that because you know them all, or did you meet them all for the first time?
I've it's a cast full of people that I've been wanting to work with for a
Oh, cool.
while now, as well as some old friends. So it's a little from column A, a little from column B, but also they are an absolute engine of a cast. So brilliant, so determined, and some of the best performers in the country. You got to see it.
Well, Merry Christmas, and I appreciate your time, mate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Now it's time to talk to Brianna. Pleased to
Hello.
meet you.
Pleased to meet you too, Shane.
Were you alive when the movie Elf came out
Oh
21
God.
years ago?
Was I? When did it come out?
It came out in 2003. Were you
I
alive?
was. Oh God, I was alive. 1997 was my birth year.
Okay. I was just wondering because you look so young, and I thought maybe you weren't even
Oh,
around.
compliment.
So becoming Jovie, you're part of Elf the musical, and like that's a pretty important part. How did you become her? Was it an audition process? What happened?
Yeah, it was an audition process. Actually, I was in Grease the Musical at the time with Gareth, and
Yeah.
we actually self-taped together in our company of com. He ran down the hall and we did it together. And I don't know, got called back in together, read together in the room, and booked it together. So yeah, it was a process. It's sort of a standard audition process, but a really positive one. Yeah, obviously.
It's like it was meant to be. It's a Christmas miracle. You work with him on Grease, and now you're back together for Elf.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of felt that way. It was one of those audition processes. There's sometimes you audition and you feel in your spirit you've got the part. You just know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm really a believer in that. And this was one of those. It was just an easy process, it felt like. So it was meant to be.
Look, a lot of actors I speak to from TV or movies do a lot of self tapes, but I wouldn't
Mm.
have thought that was something that was regular when it came to live theatre. I thought the
Yeah.
director, they would have to see you in person.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's a COVID thing. So after COVID,
Yeah.
everything was online. Um, Also now a lot of the shows we do here are international as well. Like there's a kind of conglomerate between like a West End team or a US team and an Australian team.
Yeah.
And especially for the big shows. So self-tapes have actually become actually more popular than being in the room now, which is really, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you've come a long way since Emo the musical. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Wow.
8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually saw that. I was one of the few that must have seen it when it was originally released, but it's since
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's since become popular, and I still really have good memories from it. Is that something that you want to do more of, more movies and shows? I know you were part of the Deb as well with
Yeah.
Rebel Wilson.
Yeah. Yes, it is actually. When I recently did the Deb, yeah, with Rebel, and it was a big flashback to the to Emo the musical because I've now been a part of, I think, in this generation, Australia's two movie musicals, which is really, really cool.
Yeah,
But film and TV, and also I think it's because of the amount of self-taping we do now, has become such a love, that
yeah,
intimacy with the camera, and something that maybe musical theatre it was always so separate. It's like, you're either this, you're either that, you're either that. But now you have to be a jack of all trades. I mean, you have to sort of be able to do everything. And I guess at the end of the day, we're storytellers. So yeah, but I would love to do more. I love a movie musical. I love.
Well, something I asked Gareth, besides Elf, what other Christmas movies, either musical or non-musical, that you love or remember when you were a little kid used to watch?
My favorite Christmas movie is The Holiday. I think like anything, it's Hans Zimmer, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
music in that is just incredible. And actually, this gives me Hans Zimmer vibes. I don't know, the music in this is so good. It's such a, and I was talking to the band yesterday, and they were raving about the score. They really enjoy playing it. So it's written really well. And yeah, The Holiday. I really like The Holiday. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good
well,
one.
Cameron Diaz is
Yeah,
always been one of my favorites, and it's a different kind of role for Jack Black, so I appreciate
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love that movie. Mm.
With you were saying, talking to the band about music, you know how great it is.
Mm.
I think in general, do you think in Australia we really step it up when it comes to other places in the world for live theatre? I mean, we have such a great reputation, and you're part of it. What's your opinion?
Yeah, we do. I think because our jobs are far and few between. So when we get one, it's like we treat that thing like gold. And I
Yeah.
think we put so much work and love into what we do because it's a small community. Like
Oh,
it's
it
not
would be.
like, and it's not, we're not, it's not like the West End where it's sort of like a corporate money making machine where it's like next, 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 got the big box office and you can kind of pick what you want to watch like fast food.
Yeah.
Like this, like Australia, it's special. When we have a show, it's special. So, um, yeah. And I think coming together as a collective to create something's alchemy. Like it just, I don't know, becomes a beast beyond itself. And Australia does that really well.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally agree. And alchemy is a good word. And
Mm.
superlatives in general for the Opera House. You're going to work each day at the Opera House.
Right.
How does that feel? Because it's an
Yeah.
icon.
Exact, and that plays into it. It plays into it. The staff here, the people that work here, I think the community spirit, like I brought my mum up into the theater as well, and
Nice.
the opera house staff are just so welcoming. They're like, of course they can, of course. Like I think that in itself, a happy work environment, like a genuinely happy work environment, makes
Oh,
such a
of
difference.
course.
Yeah.
Did you bring Jovie from the original musical to the stage with any changes, or was it as it's written? Did you put any Australianisms in it, or your own Zoe Deschanel sort of? What happened? Is it your own style of Jovie, or were you sort of directed to keep it American, so to speak?
No, I think that's probably why Gareth and I were cast because we definitely bring our own. I don't know if I should tell them this, Gareth, but he's never seen the movie, so he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know what Will Ferrell did. And so I think that in itself that people don't know makes this so special. And I'm a big fan of Zoe Deschanel. I love her so,
Oh,
so much.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. But I think I definitely am my own entity on stage. I don't know. I definitely have my own quality of Brianna-ness that I bring to every role, and any actor does.
Yeah.
But I think that's why Eric, our director, hired us together because we brought something fresh and
Yeah.
different. And I think the Broadway version um, is it's just so different to this version. So, so
Mm.
different. Yeah. We bring a sort of energy that is, I think, yeah, as I said, it's become something outside of what was it intended, maybe in a good
No,
way.
that's good. No, that's good to hear because the positive side of any seasonal show is
Mm,
important. And you've got
mm,
kids in the crowd, families in the crowd, and
exactly. It
anything
needs
can
to be
happen.
relatable. Yes, exactly. And I felt for Jovie like I wanted her to be almost like a beacon for women as well, like a cool role for women. Someone that maybe initially isn't extremely likable and in a good way, like not in a not in a negative way, but someone that's just a realist. She's a grounding force in the show. And I think, Christmas can be a hard time for a lot of people as well. It can be a lonely time, a
Oh,
time
of
when you're
course.
reminded when you don't have family, if you don't.
Mm.
And so I feel like she encapsulates what is needed to make this show feel quite heartwarming. And I really enjoy playing that part because of that.
And the costumes,
So
obviously,
cute.
they're very gorgeous. How do you feel just stepping out in them? I mean, they're obviously immaculately detailed, but how do
They
you
are.
feel wearing them?
Yeah, I mean, amazing. Yeah, I love costumes and wig. Actually, wig especially for me is a huge one. And then I go, wow, okay, now I know who I am. Now I know who I am. So yeah, Nick, our wig designer, is he's done an amazing job. Jovie has a sort of Judy Garland-esque feel
Mm,
to her and her wig. It's just quite classic. And
mm.
I think it adds a beautiful touch to her personality.
Uh, in scenes, Jovie will be talking and then break out into song or think music. Do you do that? Do you, when you're talking to your friends and you're out, do you just talk and then all of a sudden forget and start singing your answer?
um my like intellectual brain says no, but yeah, I think I do that. I actually I think that's a theater kid thing. I think that's why I don't know, all of us are a little bit strange and weird and wonderful, and I think that's why we've made our way into this career. And yeah, I think we do things like that. Yeah, we do.
Good answer. I could see you answering half the question in song. I could see you doing that, just
Yeah,
not
it's talent.
realizing. What about in the future for you? Are you stepping it up, doing more musical theatre? Are you going to write? I know we've
Mm.
talked a little bit off air. You like writing. Is that something you're
Yeah.
going to pursue as well?
Yeah, actually I have an EP that's nearly done, so releasing in the new year.
Oh, cool.
Which is really, it's been such a passion project, but also something that um, that I want to do for myself. I love music. I love writing.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so I'm really excited for that. And it's been an amazing process. My partner is a Hammond player in a soul band, and he's a legend, and so he's helped me. I'm really lucky in that regard. Um, but yeah, I love writing, poetry, writing as in just writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely just any creative endeavor is my thing for sure.
Cool. No, it's good to hear. You've got a lot of things
Members
happening
of
by
the
the
elf
sound of it.
company, there are 5 minutes
Oh,
until
sorry.
warm up on stage. 5 minutes
Oh,
until
that's
warm
all
up
right.
on stage.
Turning you
Thank
up.
you.
Okay, all good.
That's almost my cue. Well, to wrap it up, two quick questions. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie in your opinion?
I haven't seen Die Hard, so
Ah,
I'm gonna say yeah. Of course it
excellent.
is.
Well, see, that's all right. Gareth hasn't seen Elf. You haven't seen Die Hard. There you go.
Yeah, same
See,
thing.
yeah, same thing. Both Christmas movies. And finally, I mean, I pretty much know the reason why, but in your own words, why should people go and see Elf? You're Jovie, you know,
Mhm.
to see you is one thing, but as a spectacle, why should people go see Elf the musical?
I think, look, it's the first time this has been done. So that if that in itself is not a reason to see something, I don't know what is. This cast is, wow, really special. Like Lara Mulcahy as Santa, like we have a woman as Santa, which is pretty
That's
damn cool
so
and
good. Yeah.
something to see. Yeah, Simon Burke is a legend. Katrina Retallick is amazing. And also our ensemble, I don't know, Mitch, our choreographer, has, he's a green room or like he is so, so good. And what has been created with LED screens is something
Yeah.
that Australia hasn't seen. So, and we're at the Opera House. Come.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this is still said, Brianna, but break a leg. I know you've done
Thank
a
you.
couple of shows. I hope we cross paths.
You too.
Thank you so much for your time. And the EP, I'll be straight
Yes.
on it. I'll be straight on it
Yes.
with Spotify. I'll look out for it.
Aw. Yeah, cool. I'll hit you up.
Thank you.